Hello, welcome back to round number 2 here at Modern Mondays. We're hanging out at Guardian Games. We're Portland Paper. I'm Travis Cooper. I'm hanging out with Ian Lunger. He's producing and commentating at the same time. We are watching some analog Magic the Gathering of the modern format here, and we have a matchup of.
I'll be even.
Are we going to show it up here? Oh, there we go. Cool graphic. Quentin Wolbeski on Mono Red Phoenix playing Jeremy James on Grixis Control. Thoughts, feelings, predictions?
Um, yes. I'm excited to see Grixis Control. I think it's going to be really hard for Jeremy to win because he has no way to gain life unless he's playing.
Kalidas or Collective Brutality. Yeah. As someone who used to love playing Grixis Control, that is the really big drawback is Collective Brutality is sometimes good, but it's not as good as Lightning Helix, and it's just really rough when you have to have triple blue, double black, red, etc. to not take too much damage off your lands and then be pretty weak to aggro just top decking some burn spells or haste creatures at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the chat's curious about what the draw to Grixis Control is, and I feel like the real draw is it's sweet to Kolaghan's Command, Stampcaster Kolaghan's Command.
Yeah, I think that's, and I think Jeremy might even admit that's funny. We were talking about Jeremy is such a good Magic player, and he will play, when he plays a very competitive deck, he's near unstoppable. And a man after my own heart, sometimes he likes to just play things for fun, even if they're stoppable.
Yeah, and I feel like Grixis does let you, like when you get to the mid-late game, you feel like you're really good at Magic, because you get to make some super interesting decisions with how you sequence lands and spells, etc. And it's very fun, but I feel like it just has a little bit too many drawbacks to actually be in that like tier 1 of control decks.
Agreed.
Because you have to speculatively fetch Shock to be able to have all your colors when you might not even have those cards in your hand, but if you don't do it, you get punished. Just there's some awkwardness with the mana base primarily.
I do love his decision to spell pierce the Faithless Looting. It sometimes will completely screw this Phoenix deck if they've kept a land light hand, expecting to get there to hopefully draw into lands with the Faithless Looting. That was not the case this time, but I can definitely still get behind what Jeremy's doing.
Now we get a Reflecting Pool hanging out over there on Jeremy's side. So missing the red, but have as much blue and black as you want.
This is a land that I've seen this, Jeremy's played this a couple times. It's definitely a land that I find a little questionable. But I'm not the expert. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's really bad when you're playing cantrips and you get a 1-land hand that would otherwise be keepable, but your land is like Reflecting Pool, or let's say you had Blackcleave Cliffs, Reflecting Pool, plus blue cards. I'm not a fan of it, but I'm sure Jeremy has his reasons, and I wouldn't fault someone for having played a lot of a deck and then choosing your mana base around what cards are in it.
It is a question that I would love to ask him. Maybe we'll get him into the booth after this.
Okay, looks like we got a flashback on Faithless Looting, but we're going to get Cryptic to counter a draw, which Jeremy has been able to answer almost everything that Quentin's done, except for an errant Forked Bolt got through, but it looks like Quentin's just left on Gutshot, Lightning Bolt, Arclight Phoenix. That is also another one of the issues with the Grixis Control archetype is your finishers are kind of slow here, and you don't have Teferi.
Yeah, I think kind of slow is maybe even an understatement.
And we're going to just get a Lightning Helix there. I know Jeremy is maybe playing the newer Nicol Bolas Planeswalker, which seems sweet.
Yes. Agreed.
And coming in for 2 more.
Jeremy will now have access to red mana, should he choose to fetch for it.
9.
And so, yeah, this is a thing where Quentin had most of his threats answered. Just been playing 1 card a turn, but they've been getting through. And now we're going to play Soul Scar Mage.
Which is, this is kind of, this Phoenix deck, while it seems great against a lot of decks, when it late game draws cards like Soul Scar Mage, that's actually fantastic for Jeremy, because I think he would far rather be dealing with a mix of creatures and spells than mostly spells if this was, for example, just straight burn. I have always loved Jeremy's choice in basic lands.
Basic lands and black bordered uh, foreign edition lightning bolts.
Yeah. And I also cannot fault Quentin for white bordered lands. I'm a big fan of old white bordered lands as well.
Especially if they're unlimited, because the colors are nicer. I don't think those are.
I think those are revised.
Okay. All right, we're getting a brainstorm. A thing that doesn't happen too often in Modern. And so Quentin is in a decent spot if Quentin draws a land to hardcast this Arclight, but if that doesn't happen and Jeremy gets to untap with his Jace, we're in trouble here.
It is nice, this having this reflecting pool up is really nice at this point in the game, as you get later where Jeremy can represent any type of mana with it. So I definitely, as the game gets later, it's fantastic. And Quentin with kind of a dud. If I were Quentin at this point, I might even consider shooting down that Snapcaster with a gut shot.
And Jeremy is just fine using his Jace as a card advantage engine, even though Quentin's playing a bunch of lightning bolts, because obviously if Quentin had one, probably would have dealt with Jace by now. Quentin might be saving the 2 gut shots for the Creeping Tar Pit.
I guess I could see that.
I'm unsure what things are looking kind of grim here.
It's also possible that the right choice for Quentin is just to save everything to go upstairs, as the longer the game goes, the less chance he has of winning, period.
It's interesting, if you're on the control side of this equation, even though you're sitting at 8 life and Quentin only has 3 cards in hand, you're really thinking, like, what could they have that they can just go off and...
Right.
Like, oh, well, we got a pair of Arclights and a pair of gut shots and 3 lands.
Right. Jeremy, probably not aware that Quentin's hand is quite as bad as it is.
Faithless Looting seems good.
Yeah, this is such a terrible combination for Quentin to be stuck with in his hand here, missing that 4th land, and yeah, it's not good, as by the time he hits that, if he'd hit that 4th land earlier, been able to get the Phoenix on the board and been pressuring, he might have been in okay shape. I mean, I could also see holding those gut shots, needing to get Phoenix back after Jeremy deals with them.
It looks like Quentin's going to take another 2. And Tar Pit enters the equation.
But Jeremy's definitely running away with this game.
Oh, there's land number 4.
The 4th land, and I'm just jamming a Phoenix here. Jam it, hope it sticks, and try and take out that Jace.
And we're going to get a snap counter draw.
So I do think, yeah, Quentin's decision to hold these gut shots has the potential to be rewarded, and is very likely the best choice. And the game's over as Jeremy swings in for 10.
Creeping Tar Pits can sneak up on you there.
Yeah.
As for the creature lands, those probably not in the top 2 most played lands. I bet Colonnade is up there. Raging Ravine probably hanging out at the top, along with Colonnade. Maybe you got some Treetop Villages. I think probably Creeping Tar Pits in the Treetop Village level of creature lands that get played probably.
So let's talk about some slam dunk sideboard cards in this matchup, Travis.
Collective Brutality in any multicolor black deck is great, because you're going to lose some life to fetches, but to be able to pitch a useless card and get 2, maybe 3 relevant modes seems very strong. I'm unsure if Jeremy's playing it, but Kalidas is a sweet sideboard card that would exile those Phoenixes if they happen to die, and then be able to start swinging in for some life gain.
So
and kind of hard to kill because it's a 3/4.
let's talk about a card that I just saw Jeremy side in that I actually don't know what to think about in this matchup. Unmoored Ego. What are your thoughts on siding this card in the matchup?
I could maybe see an argument for sideboarding it in if you are on the play. I really don't like siding it in on the draw, especially Mono Red Phoenix is basically like a burn deck that plays with a little bit more synergies with your graveyard, but essentially you're just a burn deck that is also going to utilize Arclight Phoenixes to get a little bit of card advantage and pressure your opponent with some really big swings. Unmoored Ego could take Phoenix, but like Mono Red Phoenix can kind of like ignore the fact that they're gone and then they're just drawing burn spells and creatures with prowess.
Agreed.
So I kind of don't like it in the matchup in general, and I especially don't like it on the draw.
Yep, I also agree. I'm definitely not a fan of this card in the matchup, and I think by the time you can cast this, it won't matter if Phoenix has had a good draw with Phoenixes, and um, there is an element of trading resources here that's important. So on Quentin's side, I actually just saw a Shrine of Burning Rage, which, depending on what Jeremy decided to do with his Kolaghan's commands, is a questionable board. Thoughts on Shrine of Burning Rage against the Grixis deck that's kind of oftentimes leaning on K command.
I think Burning Rage is fine. You can play it and then just sort of have the waiting game because the control deck isn't putting a lot of pressure on you. And you can maybe just chip away, cast 1 or 2 spells a turn, leaving up mana to activate it, and it gets pretty big pretty quickly. Definitely Grixis is a more iffy control matchup to bring it in, but I would still bring that in and maybe take out some kind of creature removal if you have it, etc.
So do you think Jeremy's going to be siding out then those K commands? Like,
I don't know what you take out of the main deck to bring in. Maybe
Thoughtseizes, I would say for sure.
if Thoughtseizes are in the main deck, I'd take those out. Jace isn't the best in this matchup. It just dies to Lightning Bolt after you Brainstorm or an
And
attack,
Arclight.
yeah, etc. Usually when I'm a control deck playing against Phoenix, I side out some number of Jaces and your higher casting cost spells.
So Vile Flicker Wisp, interesting question about Unmoored Ego. I can tell you as an Amulet Titan player that card wrecks me. Naming Primetime with Unmoored Ego makes it really, really hard for me to win, as any deck that has kind of a primary game plan that it has to execute, Unmoored Ego is fantastic against, especially if the deck's maybe a little bit slower in executing that game plan.
Tron is a good deck to bring it in against. Also something like Ad Nauseam, Storm.
So Quentin has a one-lander. Does he have a looting?
I see a couple of Swift Spears.
It looks like, are those Swift Spears or Bedlam Revelers? I think they might.
Yeah, there's Swift Spears in there. There's
They
two of
are.
them. I think
Yeah.
that you perhaps play. There's a looting, so you play Soulscar Mage too. If you top deck a land, you can play Swift Spear plus looting and get a little bit more damage.
Yep, I'm a big fan of Colton's sequencing here, or Quentin's sequencing, excuse me. I think it's very good.
Yeah, Jeremy with the basic island. And we're gonna do loot. That's a lot of Swift Spears and no more lands.
Yeah, basic
Whew.
mountain, and Quentin is
Pitching
not in a great spot here.
Phoenix and Burning Rage. When you're missing your land drops, Shrine of Burning Rage is not going to get you back in the game.
Nope, not at all. And this deck, you do keep a lot of one-landers on this deck, knowing that you'll be able to see between a draw step and Faithless Looting 3 more cards, and I think they're very defensible keeps, and sometimes you get punished.
Okay, it looks like we got the finale that was discarded, I think there. Finale of Devastation. Also, seems fine to maybe discard that, but Shrine seems a little bit worse. Alright, Swiss Spear number 1, coming in. And Jeremy continuing to hit land drops that don't deal him damage. Drowned Catacombs, pretty great one.
So Yes, so Finale of Promise, kind of a recent addition to this mono red Phoenix deck. It is essentially 3 spells in a can if you have a graveyard stocked with a 1-mana instant and a 1-mana sorcery, which this deck often does have.
And they're cast, so it triggers the Phoenixes.
Right.
Wow, Quentin decides to keep that shrine and pitch the Swift Spear, which I feel like I'm ditching my high mana cost cards when I'm stuck on lands here.
Yes. Yeah, I can see that, but Quentin also has to win the game if he draws a land, so he may be keeping his haymakers, feeling like there's no other way he'll get back into this game.
Okay. We did see Kolaghan's Command, and we're almost at Snap Command territory, but then there's that second land we've been waiting on for several turns. And see if the shrine resolves.
Oh no.
And it's definitely a start, and we'll trigger Prowess on the Swift Spear.
Jeremy's going to use that Nihil Spellbomb and draw a card. Exiles Quentin's Graveyard.
I think
And
that's
we're going to get a fetch.
very smart by Jeremy. There's a tendency with Nile Spellbomb to really want to milk it for the maximum amount of value and wait until the last moment to sacrifice it. And I think oftentimes that's wrong, as it's a can-tripping Spellbomb, and you really don't want to kind of neuter your plays holding up a mana all game. And so I think sometimes you just get in when the getting's good with the Spellbomb. And
Interesting thing is Jeremy is not fetched for any other basics except for that mountain, and Quentin has a Blood Moon in hand.
right. Yeah, and again, so these high impact cards, if Quentin is able to land the Blood Moon, I imagine it's on Jeremy's radar and he is holding up counter magic. If I'm Quentin, I'm actually just slamming it here because I don't think it gets any better.
I kind of was in the opposite. I was feeling the opposite.
Interesting.
I feel like I pressure with the Swift Spear until my opponent deals with it, and then I at least attack first.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think that's completely fair. And that's probably why you're the control player, so you have a better beat on how to play against control than I do as well, I think. So
I feel like sometimes people want to milk all the prowess triggers you can get, but sometimes you could get your opponent to like tap out by casting like a Snapcaster and a Bolt on your Swift Spear, and then you can follow up by jamming a Blood Moon, or you miss 1 point of prowess if not. But when your control opponent is sitting on like 3 blue plus another color, kind of like making them do something first.
Yeah, I guess you have to weigh the relative advantage, and in this case, landing a Blood Moon would be extremely strong. Yeah, like if Colton had waited and jammed the Blood Moon here after Jeremy had Damnation main phase. Yeah, very interesting, Travis. I do think the texture of this game could be completely changed had Quentin waited a turn, excuse me.
And the real question now Quentin has is, do I cast this spell and then let Jeremy untap with, being able to Snapcaster Kolaghan's Command, or does Kolaghan's Command the shrine away?
I think maybe you are patient with the shrine, to be honest.
Well, I think if you made the decision to cast the Blood Moon,
he missed the shrine trigger. Okay. All right. Jeremy's gonna give it to him.
Oh, we are at regular REL here, so it's a thing that happens. I like casting the Soulscar Mage there. Okay, and now I'm fine unless I draw lands, never casting anything again.
Yeah.
Although Jeremy, I don't think Quentin knows this. Jeremy plays Nimble Obstructionist.
Yes. Stifle Bird. Let's find us some Stifle Bird. I was about to type in Stifle Bird in the card picker. That is not its name.
And Jeremy's just going to take 1 there, and we're passing the turn.
One of my favorite recent designs of any card. Stifle Bird.
All right, here's the Damnation.
Jeremy just truly embodying the spirit of Grixis as a tap-out control deck.
Honestly, I'm surprised that the Damnations are in the deck post-board, but maybe there's not enough spot removal, or maybe there's more bad cards.
Yeah, I am surprised too. And again, another question that would be interesting to chat with Jeremy about.
Alright, I think Quentin's going to ride the Shrine until we get up to Jeremy's life total, and then we're going to see a Stifle Bird. But you know what happens if that happens on Jeremy's end step, we might just get a bunch of burn. then thrown at Jeremy the following turn.
Although Quentin, yeah, is holding 3 sorcery speed burn spells.
It's true.
With the Morphos.
That's why you should probably play Leyline of Anticipation.
Absolutely. Slam dunk conclusion in this deck. What is Quentin thinking?
Quentin might be like, I have so much burn in my hand, do I just use the Shrine now?
Nah, you...
We're thinking about it. We're thinking about it here.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, we all know what's going to happen. Even though we can't see Jeremy's hand, I feel pretty confident that... Oh,
he was kind of selling it a little bit, like when the Shrine came down, he was like, oh gosh, like, you know, playing Grixis colors, like, oh no, that's like my kryptonite card.
Oh, we're at 9. I think Quinn just wants another land so we can start playing spell plus
Yes,
weight.
Yeah, 100%, yes.
Are we going to see Quentin go to discard and then discard that Phoenix? Because that would be sweet.
Oh, wow. So Jeremy can just hit the... He can just hit the
well, that
Shrine.
definitely says we don't have a Kolaghan's command.
Yeah, or he just really wants to Stifle Bird on camera. Oh, nice. Quentin with some Altered Art. An Altered Art Mountain there.
I'm having a good time right now. This is exceedingly entertaining. Quentin's still at 20 life.
Yeah, yeah.
Jeremy's at 11.
I love that this is just all hinging on the Stifle Bird that we cannot see if Jeremy has in hand.
I kind of don't think it is, though, because
it's there.
Yeah, it's there, but also Quentin has at least 12 points of burn in hand.
Yeah, I know. He might just die anyway because he waited so long, but...
I would have bolted at the end step there if I was Quentin.
Yes, I'm sure that felt real good. Wait, is he not? Okay, he's dead.
Yep.
What was Jeremy sitting on in hand? What a silly game. Well, you know,
So
sometimes
that's
in Magic, everybody gets to do what they want to do.
I feel like that's kind of Grixis control, maybe in a nutshell, of like you got some spicy, cool cards.
And you just die to burn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if Jeremy was just hoping to like find a Kalidas or something, but...
Well, Jeremy just wasn't pressuring Quentin's life total at all, and if you're the burn deck, you can just not do anything, draw 7 cards, and then start doing stuff on your opponent's end step, and then untap, and you have things like looting plus your Phoenixes plus Bedlam Reveler, and like I feel like that is a big issue of Grixis, is like there's no Teferi Ultimate that's threatening where you're untapping lands and drawing cards. There's no, it's a little bit mediocre in terms of how you finish the game.
Yeah, agree. I think that game is summed up with the comment, nice Stifle Bird, though.
I agree. It probably felt really good.
Yeah.
I keep thinking when they print Planeswalkers in Grixis colors that might be the win condition that it needed, but just never quite does it. Teferi was a real game changer, I think, for control decks to like move up to being tier 1 decks. We have a Planeswalker that has a kind of win condition as the ultimate, but that you're getting so much advantage out of it every turn when you're plussing it by drawing cards, and then you are untapping lands, and then the minus is relevant to deal with any problematic permanent. It's kind of like the gold standard right now of what a Planeswalker should do in Modern.
So you would, I mean, I hope not all planeswalkers do that. I like that we've diversified design of planeswalkers, but I think, yes, like, as a very good planeswalker, certainly. And so you would say that Jace then could never fill that role because it dies to Bolt and it's just a little bit too, it's not as robust as Teferi? Like,
It doesn't protect itself as well or draw cards in the same while being able to hold up mana too.
sure.
I feel like Jace is a very good card, but it can't just be like your win condition in a deck.
Right. Teferi does kind of embody blue-white control, I think, as a planeswalker.
Planning on playing this deck for a while?
Yeah.
You gonna put the new 3-drop in?
3-drop? No. Pyromancer? No.
Oh, Quentin's showing he's ready with his lava darts for when
Well,
Modern Horizons comes
I think
out.
Lava Dart does seem like a bit of an upgrade to Gutshot in Mono Red Phoenix.
I'm just not. I don't know if I'm sold on that. Yeah, I don't know if I'm sold on that because I actually think this deck makes use of its mana, and I think at the time when you would need to Lava Dart, when you would be interested in flashing it back, it could set you back in a very real way that I just don't feel like Gutshot does as much. So I don't know if I feel like it's a strict upgrade.
What's that?
Pretty excited.
I wouldn't quite say maybe strict is too strong of a term, but I
Okay.
feel like it is an upgrade that allows a little bit more utility, especially when you're playing Bedlam Revelers.
do one or the other.
A lot of times you'll have extra lands. You really only need 3, 4 lands max out. And
I could've
getting
used
to
it
be
back.
double spell with one card
I'll be honest.
later in the game is important for returning Phoenixes.
Yeah, but it also removes itself from the graveyard when it flashes back, and then it makes Bedlam Reveler harder to cast, too. Yeah, we'll have to see. I definitely think playing at least 3, if not more, of the Horizon Canopy type lands in this Mono Red Phoenix deck makes a lot of sense. I think that's almost a no-brainer as an upgrade.
Do you just play the cheapest ones that have red in them, or do you play all different ones to throw off your opponents?
You just play the cheapest ones that have red in them, because that's part of the draw to this Mono Red Phoenix deck. It's like a $300 or $400 deck in Modern that's very competitive. I think it's
I'm also going to go 6.
I think it's awesome that it exists in that way.
It looks like both players are going to mulligan down to 6 cards.
Yeah, it looked like Quentin had a no-lander. This Phoenix deck plays, I think, 18 lands oftentimes, so you do have to be prepared to see a number of no-landers and know that you're going to be mulliganing like a decent amount.
I just feel like maybe that is an advantage of the Mono Red Phoenix over Burn is your mulligans are a little bit better. You have some more recursive elements, some more card draw.
Well, and Faithless Looting is absolutely, card filtering. Definitely, playing any sort of cantrip is helpful, and Burn is playing none of them right now. And
Yeah, I only went there after they got bigger. Only went over to Red
Phoenix,
Castle
because
later.
of Faithless Looting's
But the place I
flashback
was
is,
at before, most of the people who worked here
kind of playing 8. Travis gave me like a little. That was like a little smirk, like a he definitely doesn't agree with me sort of smirk.
I was just thinking how to respond.
Yeah, sure.
But these players are going to be responding by looking at 6 cards,
What a segue.
and Quentin has 2. Everyone's keeping. We're scrying. Well, we have Looting and Manamorphose and Arclight Phoenix in Quentin's hand, so some of those most explosive turn 2s start with that combination.
Yeah, I honestly think this is Quentin's first hand of this game that I feel like is very, very solid. I think I toss a land in the Phoenix here. Yep, Quentin agrees.
So Jeremy shields down on any kind of counterspell.
Right. And
Ooh.
Quentin picks up a Finale of Promise, which is going to be very, very good here. Not immediately, but eventually if he needs to re-up.
We have that extra land, so we can both Looting and Bolt with that Finale of Promise.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. When this deck hits, when things hit in this deck, it feels so good.
Yeah, it kind of it feels bad when you exile your arc lights to light up the stage, but
Yes.
when you get something like this, it's pretty great.
Yeah, it absolutely has some elements of, I don't know, anti-synergy, I guess. Um, but it's so powerful, and what it's doing is so strong that I think you can, you can have that happen some games and still definitely get there. So,
You got some choices right now.
yeah, I feel like Quentin should attack first here. He's been a big fan of getting in damage before attacking.
I think we're doing that for light up the stage here. Ooh.
Yeah.
And knowing that there's a Blood Moon there, Jeremy has to think about how to use mana this next turn.
That's a good point. So Quentin willing to just let the Faithless Looting go there. I can see what you're saying. Quentin obviously looking for exactly what he found, a Swift Spear, another threat that can get in there on the attack.
Right,
Like
Jeremy fetching.
fetches.
Gonna get a main phase spell here, perhaps.
I must have missed something. It looks like Jeremy has his life total at 9.
Yep.
Looks like I missed a number of things. Ticks up with Jace. And passes the turn.
Actually goes one.
It's so good.
Spike you.
And that's it. Finale of
I
Promise
wasn't getting out of that level.
coming down for 1. Quentin gets to cast 2 spells, an instant and a sorcery with converted mana cost 1 from his graveyard.
Draw the spell here.
Then we'll get to bring back the Arclight Phoenix, and we'll more than get there.
Yeah, I think we just missed the 6 damage from the burn spells on the previous turn there.
Oh, okay.
No,
We were too busy gabbing it up.
no, I would have spell pierced that.
Yeah, story of our lives.